Hey YouTube, Brian Crazy here. JC will be walking over in a moment. F and True Wrestling, we are back with our best moments of 2010. Um, the wrestling world has gone through some big changes in 2010. Most of them actually pretty good. I think, in my opinion, wrestling is really turning back into what it used to be. I know it's still got a long way to go, but I feel like this is a far improvement over the last couple years of things that we've been subjected to. What's your take?
My take is wrestling as a whole has come from through so many different standpoints. We've had the era of violence. We've had uh, the era of we have had the era of the Viper. We've had the era of so many champions, so much that it's kind of hard, to put it into words. I mean, we've kind of gone from seeing like the Rock and Austin's of the '90s, of Rock and Austin of the '90s, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, to kind of seeing them 10 years later. Uh, Bret Hart no longer being in the game, the Rock doing his movies, Austin doing his movies, which he actually has a new movie out. If you haven't heard of it, it's called Hunt to Kill. It's actually very interesting. He's a he lives up in the woods with his daughter, and he's an ex army guy, and is very good. He leads people um, through the wilderness trying to find money that they lost. It's pretty good. It's called Hunt to Kill. Check it out. But back to that, now we have the Miz's, we have the Ortons, we have Triple H, so later and skilled in the game. You have the Undertaker still in the game, kicking ass and taking names. Kane still kicking ass and taking names. With newcomers like Daniel Bryan, Del Rio, Edge stepping up his game, all these guys. And it just really goes to show you that wrestling for the newer kids isn't is a lot better. They're better for them than when we talk about the guys that we used to watch, like Austin, Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kane from the '90s.
I do agree that in 2010 we've seen a lot of good champions, new faces, some people that you never expected to be world champion. I mean, Jack Swagger jumps into the game, becomes world champion. Sheamus becomes world champion, even though I know he did it in 2009. Still, 2010 was a huge year for him. King of the Ring, this, that, and the other. But I think it's a little unfair to say. I think the stars of the '90s are as good, if not better, than the stars today. But it's a different time, which I think is kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
And before anybody thinks that I'm going against what JC said, the stars today have to adapt to a different time compared to the stars of the '90s. The '90s was more highly competitive. There was high amounts of violence being written into the storylines, high amounts of sexuality, this, that, and the other. Now you're seeing more of a return to a PG product. So now it fits more champions, kind of like the Swaggers and the Bryans and the Miz, and exactly, because in John Cena, because they appeal to a broader fan base than Stone Cold Steve Austin appealed to, the younger teenage kid that was more rebellious, and he was basically saying to the world,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
It's kind of like, you got to think about it. When the wrestlers from the '60s and '70s entered WWF from the Worldwide Wrestling Federation to WWF, World Wrestling Federation, it was a different game. Then you had the stars of the late '70s, early '80s, and the game changed in the late '80s, and then the game changed again in the early '90s, and it was like so many different time frames, so many different wrestlers. You look back and you just see everything changing in front of your very eyes. I mean, back in the day there was no entrances, there was no music, there was no pyro. When they started filming the show, the wrestlers were already in the ring. When they come back from a commercial break, the wrestlers were already in the ring. And the same thing on pay-per-view.
What you guys have probably noticed that they've kind of come back to, they wait especially in title matches, for both competitors to get into the ring, and then they announce both men in each
Yeah,
corner.
that's usually in the main events.
In the main events. But that goes back to how things used to be done back in the day. Like, you guys know how Mr. Anderson's mic drops from the ceiling?
That's how it used to be in
That's
the
how it used to be.
50s and 60s.
There wasn't wireless mics. The technology didn't exist yet. For you guys that don't know that, the mic would drop from the ceiling. It would be attached to a cable. The announcer would speak, and then it would be reeled back up. There would be a guy working the rafters. But I mean, like JC was saying, wrestling has changed so much over the years, and a lot of it had to do with it was a territory-based system. There was a lot of territories. A lot of you younger guys that enjoy us might not know. We don't want to get too off subject, but there was a lot of territories. There was what was called the National Wrestling Alliance. Each territory had a little chunk of America, and also some overseas territories were also involved. Vince McMahon took his northeastern territory, broke away, went national, and kind of ended up crushing all the smaller competition. One of the NWA promotions, Jim Crockett, became the modern WCW, which competed toe-to-toe with the WWF into 2001, and actually did quite well, beat him 84 weeks in the ratings. Now, the former president of that company, Eric Bischoff, is now helping out with TNA Wrestling. So if you guys don't watch TNA, check it out. It's a pretty good product.
And before we stray too much in the topic, I have DVDs I've shown you guys in the past. What Brian's talking about is, if you guys want to know more of the history of like the AWA, the NWA, WCCW, all the different territories, check out the Dusty Rhodes DVD, the Ric Flair DVD, Ric Flair and the Horsemen.
Spectacular Legacy of the AWA.
Exactly, the
Triumph and Tragedy of
WCW. World Class Championship Wrestling, which I have that because...
Joe, if you don't mind me grabbing one out of your collection real quick.
Also...
Fantastic DVD, guys. This chronicles the rise and fall from Crockett Promotions to WCW to when Vince McMahon bought up the company in March 2001. It will teach you guys a lot about what wrestling was. I mean, you guys probably haven't heard of some of the fantastic champions. Vern Gagne, Mad Dog Vachon, the list goes on and on. We don't want to stray too much, but guys, check out some of this older content. Nick Bockwinkel, for example. I know probably half you guys are looking at me like, who is Nick Bockwinkel? Check him out. He has
it's
something...
exactly how we were.
A couple years ago.
Was it last year? This past year, Nick Bockwinkel was inducted to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. We were like, who the hell?
Exactly.
A lot of these guys who were inducted to the Hall of Fame this year and throughout the years, we were like, who the hell are these guys?
So, to be honest, now that I've got my hands on old NWA footage, I can't stop watching it. Sometimes I'll actually not even watch some of the current stuff to watch some older footage some nights.
Exactly.
Because it is so captivating. Like, after this video, I'll probably actually sit down and watch Super Clash too. So, depending on what I think of that, I might include that in the next review.
It's also, name drop a couple of DVDs. Hulk Hogan's DVDs. His first DVD release that came out, which I'm letting Brian borrow. Randy Macho Man Savage's DVD. Starrcade, The Essential Collection. Ric Flair, The Definitive Collection.
Another great DVD if you want to see more about the history of the NWA. Touches on the AWA, which was
WCW.
Definitely, Ric Flair was heavily involved in WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions. He did jump over to WWF for a little bit.
Jumped to WCW, then back to WWF. And then for the better part of the 90s, he was back in WCW.
Ric Flair was the man that had the balls to take this belt and leave WCW with it because they would not give him back his $25,000 deposit. And believe it or not, when he rejoined WWF after leaving WCW in 2001, after him and Triple H created such a bond and they formed the On-Screen Evolution, they were really good friends behind the scenes. He actually gifted that belt, the original heavyweight championship, to Triple H.
Yes, and which there's a little tidbit, if you guys didn't know, FYI for your information. If you watch the history of the WWE Championship, when Brock Lesnar beat, I think it was The Rock or I think it was Big Show for the Undisputed title, he was supposed to go over and wrestle Triple H, who was at the time the #1 contender, and Brock Lesnar was like, no, I'm not going to go over there and wrestle. Why do I have to go over and wrestle Triple H? Knowing that he was going to get his ass kicked pretty much.
Exactly.
And they built him up to be the greatest champion since Goldberg from WCW. That's when, that following Monday night on Raw, Ric Flair gave the AWA belt to Triple H, which actually was supposed to be presented to Triple H.
WCW.
The WCW World Heavyweight Championship to Triple H, which was basically Eric Bischoff's rendition. The legacy of the WWE World Heavyweight title started with Triple H
in 2002.
In 2002.
And another real cool, interesting tidbit I'll throw into this video. From what I've heard, at WrestleMania 27, we will see a WCW tie-in. We could potentially see 3 former WCW stars inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Arn Anderson.
Deserves. He should have been there years ago.
Arn. I'm trying to think of the other 2. I know they'll come to me throughout the course.
Savage. He should be in there.
The
Macho Man.
Savage should be. Do you know, actually, it was funny enough. Back in the day, do you know Gordon Soley, Mr. Supre, got into it with Macho Man and WCW management and actually left the company because Macho Man suggested his father, Angelo, be inducted into the WCW Hall of Fame, and Gordon Soley thought it was inappropriate for family members to suggest their own, family to be inducted. So he actually left the company over that. Interesting tidbit. I know you guys, something random, it'll come up in a conversation in 15 years, and now you know.
But best of 2010.
Exactly. We went on for about 10 minutes about everything else. Best of 2010. JC's got 5 moments for you.
5 matches.
5 matches, 5 moments. I've got 5 matches, 5 moments. He's going to go through his. I'm going to go through mine. We're going to go back and forth, kind of explain what our reasons, motivations are. Guys, please, the best part about effing True Wrestling is our community. Leave us comments. Tell us what you think. What are your matches? What is your reasoning? If you leave us something that's good enough to change our minds, hey, we'll mention it in the next video.
So we're going to start off with my top 5 moments in WWE this year. Starting off with number 5 and working way up to number 1. January 4th of this year. Bret Hart. January 1/4.
No, I'm going to say moment number 5.
Yeah, moment number 5. 1/4/2010. The return of Bret the Hitman Hart. And, for a lot of guys, a lot of kids, they don't know who Bret Hart is. A lot of the kids who start watching wrestling now, as you can see, I'm not a big Bret Hart.
Yes, Joey has every DVD possible. This guy could be the new Gemini. We should just call him Ric Flair Mark II.
But the key point of this coming back was Bret Hart's return, and there was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that was going on at the time. Shawn knew he was on his way out at the end of March. His contract was up. He wanted to be a family man again. He wanted to be Michael Hickenbottom again, that's Shawn Michaels' real name, Michael Hickenbottom. I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan. I have been since I was a little kid. My very first match, I saw Shawn Michaels wrestle at WrestleMania 10 against Razor Ramon. My brother introduced me a couple of years. He showed, "You want to see Shawn Michaels?" And he sat me down. He had a whole 2-hour tape of Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels wrestling as the Rockers. I have 2 Shawn Michaels DVDs. I have Shawn Michaels' My Journey DVD, and I have the Heartbreak and Triumph of the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. But bringing back the moment, he wanted to bury the hatchet with Bret. Basically came out and said, "Hey, Bret, what happened to you in Montreal, you deserved," basically saying you were arrogant and cocky, and you deserved everything, and I did have a hand in what happened. Then Bret goes, "I want to bury the hatchet, start new, it's 2010, new year, let's start off fresh, let bygones be bygones." They shook. Shawn Michaels went to walk away, and as a lot of fans thought he was going to turn around and super kick Bret Hart and do like a DX chop, he actually quickly turned to Bret, walked over to him, hugged, and basically the whole arena erupted. And I would have loved to have been there for that. And that was one of the reason why that was mine, one of my picks for number 5. So I promise not to take too much time on the other ones. January 31st, fast forward later to the month, the Rated R Rumble winner, Edge, came back from an Achilles heel rupture, Achilles tendon rupture, owned everyone in the last 20 minutes of the Rumble, spearing everyone in sight, winning the Royal Rumble, going on to face Chris Jericho at for the title. Number 3, which was in 6/7. I don't know what month that is. The very first Nexus attack.
Six is June, my friend.
The first moment. The first.
He'll be okay. It's a little late
the
here.
The first attack of Nexus. The debut of Nexus. Moment number 2 was Daniel Bryan beats The Miz for his first WWE Championship, and that was, my favorite match of the year because everyone knows I'm a very big Daniel Bryan supporter. I followed a lot of his ROH stuff when he first came to the WWE, and for him to say, hey, I got there and I beat one of WWE's best for the coveted title through the Indies, the AWA, the NWA, WCW. It was really something. He cemented himself in the United States with the long list of champions. And fast forwarding to March, Shawn Michaels' farewell. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, ladies and gentlemen. When Shawn Michaels was in the ring, Undertaker came out, gave his respect. A couple of other guys came out, gave their respect. I cried because, Shawn Michaels wasn't going to be no longer there. We weren't going to see the showstopper perform at WrestleMania as he always does. And
I mean, it was really kind of the passing of the torch. It was the end of
pretty
the era.
much.
I kind of, want to let you do your moments. I don't want to interrupt you. But, I mean, even for me, JC was always a bigger Shawn Michaels fan, but I was always a big DX fan. And to see that moment, like JC said, we watched WrestleMania together. And
we were both injured. I had surgery 2 weeks prior.
I had my rotator cuff done,
Brian
guys.
had his rotator cuff done the Thursday before WrestleMania. And hurt and all, we ordered WrestleMania, and we thought it was probably one of the best WrestleManias that we had saw. I think it was also because we were so hurt and in pain that
it was
just
to
sit back, to relax, just to sit
buddy.
back and not, with muscles. I got cut here, in the belly button because I had to have my gallbladder removed. I had to put all these tools in.
They went from here, and I separated this from this, and they had to pull this back up and reattach it. So and hey, I don't want to hear any scrawny arm jokes. I'm just getting my strength back. All right, tough guys.
Do you want to do your top 5 moments?
Top 5 moments of 2010. I won't get into this too much because we've already gone on for a while. But I do agree for moment number 5 with you. Bret Hart's return, incredibly powerful. I never thought I would see Bret Hart in the WWF again. Yeah. I thought after the Montreal Screwjob, I mean that was one of the most infamous events in wrestling history. But I think it was even to further on that moment, not as another moment, to further on that moment. Also when Bret actually got to hold the United States Heavyweight Championship for just a short period of time. But I mean, that was like the culmination of, short-lived because we all know Bret has health issues. And he's not able to do what he wants to be able to do in the ring. If he was able to, Bret Hart would be wrestling today. It's just that his body is not allowing him to, and that's something that we need to respect. Respect the athlete. That's what JC went into detail on a video.
He did a match. He did a match. I can't remember when, but it was during his return, and he was doing hip tosses, suplexes, he had never been out of the ring.
I think he's got some stamina to a point, but then I think it starts to catch up with him. You know what I mean? I think
he overworks himself, and then he get catches.
I see it with Mick Foley a lot. Not to jump over, this is WWE, but not to jump over to TNA, but I see it with Mick Foley a lot. He was a former WWE performer, for all of you that know. But I mean, currently he'll go, but he gets really winded quickly now. And you start seeing that with some performers. Like, example, Flair, not to, keep crossing over, but Flair can go for an hour still. It just depends on the performer.
Exactly.
But number 4 moment.
WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. Dude, Ric Flair in all his career had never connected with a crossbody, and he connected on Shawn Michaels with a crossbody. Yeah. It wasn't the greatest crossbodies, but it was a great crossbody.
And one more Ric Flair reference. I was watching this DVD today, and he says, he goes, What's a shame is that Hulk Hogan's more of a world-renowned name. Yeah, Ric Flair might be, the classy one. It might be the technical wrestler, but it's a shame that part of the world doesn't even know who Ric Flair is,
Exactly.
and everybody knows who Hogan is. But moving on, number 4 moment. John Cena being forced to join the Nexus. Now, I really thought this angle was going to be a lot better. I thought we were going to see maybe a possible heel turn, but in the WWE's infinite wisdom, that we didn't get to see that. John Cena's become more vicious. He's become more ruthless. I think we're kind of getting to see a little bit back to the 2002 character. I'm not talking about the rapper. I'm talking about the ruthless aggression guy.
The guy before. Well, he wasn't the rapper until Halloween later that year.
Yeah.
When he dressed as Vanilla Ice, and then when WWE creative team seen him go as to Halloween and rap, and he can actually flow a little bit. I guess that's when they decided to take the run with the whole rap gimmick. But Brian, you have the floor right now.
Exactly. And I really thought we were going to see something a little more impressive out of this. But I do think the reason I say this is the number 4 moment was the reaction from the crowd. The people in the stands. I don't think the WWE universe, or a couple years ago it was known as just plain the world, has seen a reaction like that in a long time.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty.
With the exception of Shawn Michaels and Hogan and Flair chants, the whole Cena that night, the whole Cena thing, never give up. They were chanting "Never give up." Cena, don't do it. The fans and the mothers crying, but all the men were like, yeah, it's.
And then, I want to keep this going because honestly, I can't see how much we've already gone, guys. So I'm hoping we didn't go over. If we did, we'll split this into 2 parts. Just please check out the second one. That's the problem when we do 2 parts. They don't hit as well as the single part videos do. Just to be perfectly honest to you guys, as we always try to be. That's why we're effing true. If we were effing fake, then I could understand that. A number 3 moment, I think, was Alberto Del Rio's debut. I think Dos Caras Jr., as he is known in Mexico, is a fantastic athlete. His father is world-renowned in the AAA in Mexico. I think he's going to bring something in 2011 that you have not seen. As JC will touch on a little bit later, and I probably will agree with him, there was a fantastic contest that he was involved in. I just think that he really is going. Now that we're seeing a lot of changing of the guard, we're seeing older superstars starting to retire more and more. And I think we need a fresh face like Del Rio. My number 2 moment. I've been kind of having a hard time deciding on this one. So I think I'm going to jump forward to 1, and then I'll come back to number 2 in a couple moments. My number 1 moment definitely was the Nexus invasion in June. That caught me so off guard. You have all these NXT Season 1 rookies come down. You got Daniel Bryan choking out Justin Roberts there. I almost said Justin Gabriel, excuse me. Justin Roberts with a necktie, spitting in people's faces. He went so extreme, he actually got himself canned from the company. And I think that
the whole backstory of him getting canned was he was still in contract with a lot of the indie promotions, and he wanted to go and finish his indie shows. And we didn't see him until late August, early September at SummerSlam, because he was actually finishing up his indies, because he went to Vince or the Vince and said, hey, I got obligations to other companies right now. I want to finish them up before I come back full time. And he went off. He did that, and he came back and he had a fantastic match at SummerSlam and helped Team WWE against Nexus.
And I think for the number 2 moment to finish off the top 5, so we can try to keep this going, because we are probably, like I said, taking up some time here. The more I think about it, I do have to agree with JC. He gave it Shawn's farewell. I'm going to give it the end of the match to go just a little bit different direction. I think when Shawn Michaels looked at The Undertaker and he went, just finish it off, man. And it was like Undertaker's, last favor to an old friend.
Yeah.
And I think that was just such a powerful moment. The farewell got me too, but the farewell was more than Following Night on Raw, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because I watched the match, and I still watch the match, and I'm like,
The match
and
was
I still
incredible.
shake my head at, because Shawn wouldn't stay down, and the tombstone when Taker literally jumped and left his feet and came back down, I think was really uncalled for. But Sean
I
wanted to
think
go out. He wanted to. If he was gonna go out, he said, "You know what? You give me your damn best,
exactly
and you put me out."
they wanted to sell a good match. They didn't want to do something that was
And
subpar. You
and I
know.
liked how I like how they went about, which I'll touch on it later on. How they went about the first part of the match when they made it look like Shawn was going to win when Taker tweaked his knee, but that's a part because that's one of my top 5 favorite matches. So I'll leave that.
Yeah, I wasn't
Um,
that like I said, that was more of Joey's moment match highlight. I'm going for my moment. I'm going for that individual moment
if you
when
guys see
Shawn
me
Michaels
moving,
looked. Yeah, that's
well, this thing is heavy. This is 5 pounds. And holding, have you ever tried holding 5 pounds out like this for a long period of time? You can't do it. I don't
I
think
know.
anyone can.
I mean, guys, if you haven't ever checked this out, Joey did an awesome unboxing. It's still up. A lot of our videos we had to take down due to copyright, but this one happens to be up. Check this thing out, guys. I mean, the detail on this thing is incredible. RingsideCollectibles.com. We're not trying to plug anybody, except for
Or you
you.
could get it probably for cheaper on WWE.com.
But whatever have you, it's a great title. He's got it
This is
engraved.
an old. This is a deluxe
He's got it
edition.
engraved with his name. This, that, and the other. But let's move in to our top 5 matches, and we'll start wrapping this video up. Joseph, why don't you do your top 5? Then, as a couple of you fans out there like calling me Big Crazy, we'll do his, and
Yes.
we'll finish this up.
9/19/10, September 19th, 2010. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz for the United States title at Night of Champions. Again, this was a fantastic match. I enjoyed it. The Miz tapped out. Daniel Bryan locked in the lapel lock, which is almost like his version of a modified crippler crossface. Number 4, which is just a couple of weeks back. 12/19/2010, the Fatal 4-Way TLC match for the world title at TLC. Edge versus Ray versus Del Rio versus Kane. This was a fantastic match. Me and Brian both did a video TLC review. Check it out. We both talked about how this was probably match of the night. And I just went back and I watched it, and it actually was. This was actually better than John Morrison, Sheamus,
And I mean,
just because there were so many spots.
and I mean, even Ricardo Rodriguez,
Tried to climb the ladder. And get
Del
the
Rio's
title.
ringing. But if you guys don't know, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but check out. Actually, I've been exposed to it a little more from some of our friends here on YouTube. In the Southern California independent wrestling scene, Ricardo Rodriguez is an incredible athlete.
He's actually a wrestler.
He's actually a wrestler. So check him out, show him support. Everybody that you can show support. Especially another quick thing, Caval, show Caval support. He's got a new site up. Check it out. Back to you, Jay.
3/28/10 WrestleMania 26. This kind of cemented the breakup of the group, and they went off their separate ways, and they did their own thing. Orton versus Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. Fantastic. I think it was like a 15 to 20-minute match, if I'm not mistaken. The RKO that Orton did at the end when right before he pinned Ted DiBiase, it kind of looked like they were suspended in air and time was just standing still because they were in the air for a little while. And it was just a phenomenal RKO. Match was great. I enjoyed it. I think that was the second match of the night that I actually enjoyed. We had October 3rd, 2 days before my birthday, Hell in a Cell, Wade Barrett versus John Cena, free or fired match. Again, we were kind of, Brian was commenting on it earlier, and I agree with Brian, where kind of started seeing Cena become like somewhat of a heel, but he didn't go to the full, become a heel, but he didn't go to the full extent. He was just vicious. He didn't disrespect the fans. He stayed loyal, but he said it to the fans, hey, you know what? You guys are going to see me do some things that I'm not proud of, but I have
he
to
actually
do it.
started to develop a character again. One that actually,
And then
I've never been a Cena mark, but one that I was actually starting to accept and deal with. I've got, a couple small children, and they like him. So I got to deal with them. I'm not going to, make my children feel bad for liking somebody. But, they were actually making him into a character the adults can kind of enjoy a little bit. This guy was smashing people's heads through windshields and stuff,
Yeah.
But now is he going to get soft again? Time will tell.
We have to see.
Now we got Punk as the leader of Nexus. What?
And that was actually between this and this next choice that I have, my number one pick, and the CM Punk thing was kind of hard. It was either Shawn Michaels farewell or CM Punk, the new leader of Nexus. But I'm more of a Shawn Michaels fan than anything, if a lot of you know me. And I had to pick both Shawn Michaels moments as my number ones. The last moment is 328, again, WrestleMania 26, HBK versus Taker. Like I was saying earlier, they kind of built it up where Shawn was hell-bent on ending Taker's streak. He was like, I'm going to end your streak or I'm going to die trying. And when the first couple of minutes of the match, Taker went and he jumped off the top rope and he, I think, tweaked his knee. And that's when Shawn actually took it to Taker. And then Taker started getting blood flowing back to his leg. And then it was back and forth, back and forth. You didn't really know what was going to happen. Shawn Michaels of old, Undertaker of old. It was a classic bout. At the end, Shawn Michaels lost. He had to retire. He came out the next night on Raw, said his goodbye. And I love the fact is that they didn't have anyone come out and interrupt him. They let him have the last 20 minutes of Raw. The only people that came out to interrupt him were the people that wanted to say goodbye. And Shawn Michaels and Triple H are very good buddies, and we didn't really get to see Triple H say what he wanted to say because the fact was that Sheamus jumped him from behind and set up their feud for the bitter part of the spring and summer. So those were my top 5 favorite moments and matches. I think Brian has 5 matches he would like to talk about, so I'm going to let him have the floor.
All right.
And I'm going to put this belt down. It's fucking tired.
I got the floor. Well, I hope I do, or I'd be downstairs in my house. But moving on. My top 5 matches in no particular order. I had a very busy day today, guys. I was trying to sit down and research, watch through some tapes and, get everything together as much as possible. Unfortunately, for once JC was a little more prepared than I was, but he did his homework, so we all should give him a gold star. But,
Nexus.
What's a gold N?
It's better.
Well, hey, here's a gold belt. But top 5 matches in no particular order, guys. I'm going to run through them. John Cena versus Batista. This match, I thought it was
the I Quit match?
The I Quit match.
Oh, when he got the AA off the top of the chair? The stairs? I mean, the car?
Through the top of well, first of all, he slammed him on the hood, and then he put him off the top of the stage, through the stage.
Yeah.
Through on top of the car, through the stage. I thought that was pretty badass. And then I do agree with the Fatal 4-Way match.